Live on YouTube.
See who drops into the house.
There should be a few people come on.
Oh, I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be.
Okay. Let's do that Audacity thing that we do so badly. Oh, wait, I could do some glasses, really.
That'd be a good start.
Being able to see is always beneficial. Can't really see at the moment for some reason. Don't know why. Okay. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, click. Okay. We're up.
Do you think it's always weird when you do the countdown and then I hear you click? And it's always like, I think there must be a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, it's only a tiny amount. It's only about a quarter of a second.
Yeah. And it's always like, oh, I missed it again.
Every time.
Always like,
Every time. We got one person who's viewing us at the moment, so I don't know who it is.
Welcome to the house, whoever is hiding in the tube.
Yes. Just minimize your Audacity, mate, so that there's no chance. Don't worry about trying to, the vaping. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about eating, nothing. I can edit that out later because there's only 2 of us. So just minimize it down so we don't press any buttons.
All right. Happy days. I can live with that.
Yeah, I'll just edit it as I need to.
I've got the chat up.
I've got the chat up too. We got 2 people currently playing this, so who knows what's going to happen tonight.
4 watching now.
Woo-hoo. 4. Holy shnikey. Was super popular.
Okay. Saturday night party with
Saturday night
Bucket.
Party night. Who's TH?
So for the benefit of our listeners, Chris, should we talk a bit about what we're doing this evening? What are we talking about?
Well, shall we do a proper intro before we go any further?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Give me a couple of seconds silence. We'll do an intro.
All right.
Hi, and welcome to a new thing for the Hop Edition. This is a short series that, well, it's the pilot basically of a short series that I've been wanting to do for a little while because I know that Owen likes to drink beer. I like to drink beer. We both like to drink new beers because we're that kind of people. And what we're doing tonight is we're going to be just a couple of commercial beers, couple of blokes sat down having a chat about the beers that we're drinking and letting you guys watch it live on YouTube. And then for those of you who listen, you can listen to it in your car whilst you're getting coffee, tits, and you can do whatever it is that you need to do, tits. And yeah, so we can just run through a couple of beers. I'm quite lucky because I've been in touch with somebody who's been on the podcast, who's done me a solid and sent me a crate. And I'm going to be doing a couple of those beers. Owen, what have we got in store for you? Don't give too much away.
So I've got a couple of beers, and in true style, both are close to
22%.
Not quite, but one's very close to hitting 8%, and the other is 8%. So
Jesus.
So I think it won't be long before I am spouting total nonsense as usual.
It's the standard. Have you eaten this evening though?
I ate probably about 3 or 4 or 3, half 3.
Oh shit, we're screwed.
Well, I did have a big burrito. I had a big burrito. I had tortillas with sour cream. I reckon I'm gonna be all right.
Sounds like you stodged it up just in time for the for the evening. Right.
Oh yeah.
Well, essentially, we know that you guys have been demanding content from us. I've had multiple messages from people saying, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? We're missing it. My drive to work isn't the same. Yada, yada, etc., etc. And essentially, it's summer, even though it's been pissing it down for 2 days here. People are on holiday. People are busy having Chinese and beer. And to be fair, most of us kind of needed a little bit of time away from spending every other Saturday talking to the 3 other people and just kind of not really having any time to live with families and stuff like that. Would you agree with that, Owen?
Yeah, I think probably since the COVID restrictions have ended, what was that, back in June?
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's become quite a bit harder to sort of pin us, the four of us, down. Particularly being summer, we're all like, some of us are having holidays and we've got weekend stuff going on. Whereas it was a lot easier, I think, when we were in lockdown, to just be like, what are you doing Saturday night?
Recording a podcast.
Surprisingly nothing. Yeah. I was thinking about doing the Sunday Times crossword, but from
1988, because I'm still working on that one.
I've just been working through the back catalogue, but actually maybe a podcast sounds more fun.
Yeah. What are you doing? Decorating? No, I'm actually podcasting.
Yeah. Well, you say that. Actually, I used to when you and Tricky first started the podcast, you got me through a good couple of decorating sessions early lockdown.
Well, it's good to know that we are helpful in that respect. To answer Martin's question, I basically just have Tricky has just apparently had the drive from hell back from Devon.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. It's number one, it's Devon. Secondly, it's driving in horrific weather back from Devon with two kids when you've just finished a holiday, which is essentially hell in four wheels and a metal box. Andy apparently has decided he'd rather have Chinese and get hammered with his mates, which, fair play, We've all been there.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. And me and Owen we've been mulling this over for the last couple of weeks, and it just seemed to fit nice just for an hour or so to get in and, do a couple of beer reviews and let you guys know what it is that we're drinking and what we think about it. And more importantly, it's just an opportunity for me and Owen to have a couple of beers in relative peace.
This is true.
And for me to torture myself with various hops and stuff.
And I guess it's or even sours. Who knows?
It's not torture anymore, though. The sours, is it?
We'll talk a little bit about the London Craft Beer Festival in a bit, but
absolutely, we will.
I think what perhaps our listeners might not necessarily know is when we do a proper podcast, when it's the three or four of us, it actually takes a fair bit of planning and kind of scheduling to sort of create the structure that's needed for the podcast. So, it's not necessarily just finding that Saturday night, but it's also then finding a couple of nights in between that to talk about what we're actually going to, what the subject of the podcast is, what's the structure, what's the content, all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think we're experimenting with this style, which is effectively just the commercial breaks.
Yes.
Almost as a bit more of a gap filler. Is that fair to say, Chris? Like, it's going to be slightly shorter content. It might not always be four of us. It might just be two of us. And it's kind of something that potentially we can be recording like midweek. And therefore actually kind of answer that request for more content.
Exactly.
So there you go.
For a lot of people, this would be perfect for a drive to and from work. Yeah. If it ends up at around about the length of time that we're expecting it to. Yeah. Which,
we say now it's probably not going to be 3 hours, but
possibly not 3 hours.
Who knows?
Well, based on the little slurp that I've just had of this.
Oh, yes.
So
trial recipe.
Absolutely. Small batch beer. So to be fair, we're freeballing this. There's no plan. There's no script. There isn't even an itinerary of what we're going to talk to. I have two windows open on my desktop. One of them is OBS. The other one is YouTube, so I can monitor the chat. I've got nothing else open. Normally I have window upon window upon window. I basically need 8 monitors to get me through a normal recording session. I've currently got 2 with 1 window in each. It's wonderful. It's that feng shui decluttering kind of thing going off with my windowing. But I noticed on Harrison's Brewery that Chris Harry Brew was basically, he was saying, I've got a load of beers, which are small batch, test batch, and a load of other stuff that's kind of end of line, and we're selling it off, and it's 24 quid for a case. And I just went, click. I'm having it. And I put the Hop Edition as the business name it was being shipped to. And I think Harry's gone, give him one of everything, because I've literally had one of everything. I've already had a couple of these beers. I drank them last night, and so far they've all been amazing. With the exception of one, which I've spoken to Harry about, and he was like, yeah, I thought the same thing. So, you know, we're not going to talk about that one. Obviously, he understands where it's at. I understand where we're at as well. But what I have is I've got a load of these trial recipes, small batch, stuff off the small kit, some off the test kit, some off the test batches and things like that. And this one is called, I'm going to have to turn it around because it's at the bottom. It's called Weed Hatch.
Nice.
It's a single hop session IPA, extra pale, wheat malt, Cara. And then for all of you looking, it's hopped purely with Simcoe.
Wow. Chris, what are you doing?
It's USO5 is the yeast. It's 4.6%. And
All right.
Recently, I call it desensitization. The rest of you will call it torture. Okay. But what I've been doing is the types of beer that I haven't liked in the past and the hops that I haven't liked in the past, I've basically been spending money on drinking beers like that. And I have to say, on this beer, actually, have you had this one? Did you buy one of those cases?
No.
Mate, you lucked out. Should have put the Hop Edition in as your business name. Now, I'm getting tropical fruit. I'm not getting cat piss at all.
Nice.
I'm getting a little bit of mustiness, admittedly.
All right. Yeah, okay. A little bit of sweaty sock.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it sweaty sock.
A little bit of sort of dank. Is there a bit of dank in there?
A little danky green dank, kind of, you know, not quite moldy sock, but certainly you've worn it to the gym once. And I'm just getting shitloads of like fruit. I'm just getting tropical fruit.
Single-use sock.
My brother, just as a tangent, my brother has not worn a pair of socks more than once for the last 3 years.
I've got a lot of questions about that.
He literally buys a brand new pair of socks for every single day.
Wow. What does he do with the old socks?
We have, at my dad's house where he lives, they have 3 dogs. He takes his socks off. The dogs nick the socks, shred them, and then basically they pick the bits up and put them in the bin.
Okay, that's an interesting way of recycling.
It is.
Well, it's not even really recycling, but how strange.
Yeah, he's a very weird man.
Sounds it.
No, he is genuinely a proper weirdo. But yeah, that's what he's been doing. But this is a lovely beer.
Yeah. I think I don't know. Is that has it got a counting date on the can?
No.
On the bottom? Is it on the bottom?
No.
I personally have noticed commercial beers that I've had quite recently, possibly with the 2021 hops, as I've found Simcoe has been really cat pissy. So I don't know if that's like end of line stock and stuff. I wonder if that Simcoe was last year's crop.
It possibly is 2020.
Which perhaps isn't, you know, it just goes to show perhaps that I could, you know, the different seasons and how that can affect it. But I'm glad it's not too horrendous for you, Chris.
It's not horrendous at all, to be fair. I like the combination of the extra pale. I mean, look at the colour on that.
It's nice. I think there's a bit of wheat in there that's obviously adding the slight haze, but
yeah. I love the fact that it's as pale. It's a really light beer. It's not at all heavy. So, yeah. It's the Aegis legend, Martin. He wants to know what mod I'm vaping.
Yeah, I saw that. Classic mod.
Yeah.
So you highly recommend that beer then. So I think
I would. I think Harry needs to put this into full production.
Well, I think that's the point, right? That is off his what's his test kit size? It's probably like 50 liter, maybe 100,
it was 100
liter.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and he's fermenting them out in 60 liter firmzillas, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah. With heating coils.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty pimp setup that he's got.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
It is, you know.
Pretty nice.
Do we know anyone else who's got a pimp setup? I mean, somebody bought a glycol chiller, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, I think they did.
What? Why would you need a glycol chiller?
I think maybe because he spent a fucking fortune on a massive fermenter that he can't fit in a fridge.
Oh, so yeah, you need the 14-gallon fermenter. Yeah. It is.
I can't remember his name. Yeah.
It's all the extra costs that come with having.
Yeah, like rewiring your house.
Yeah, like
buying new kettles,
redesigning your entire brew space,
buying a new mash system, mash tun, buying a new kettle, buying new elements, all because you couldn't wait 3 days. Anyway, just saying, most expensive fermenter ever.
Bless him.
I love him to bits. Not that beard though. I think this beer it's wonderfully light, it's wonderfully drinkable. The Simcoe clearly isn't uber cat pissy, otherwise I would have noticed.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I think this is a really, really good beer. And at 4.6, you could crush quite a few.
So you're coming round to the idea of Simcoe now.
As long as it's not cat pissy, yeah, I'm down with almost every hop.
It'd be interesting if you start getting some of like the beers made in the last month, maybe two, and that have Simcoe in, and see if you notice a difference.
Yeah, I do seem to be quite susceptible to that cat piss smell.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we end up.
Huh. So what other beers did Harry include in his box?
Oh, dear God, all of them. I sent you a picture, didn't I?
You did, yeah. You had like an entire can castle.
I would get them out, but unfortunately, I would have to literally not be able to see the screen.
I can see them right here. So you've got a Kolsch, you've got a Best Bitter, West Coast IPA, Plum Porter, Pale Ales. There's a sour.
There's a Vic Secret and Simcoe IPA made with Verdant.
The coconut IPA's in there.
I've got the coconut IPA, yes.
I'd love to try that.
I've got two cans of raspberry sour.
Nice. You got the mango IPA.
I have, yes.
You've got the Vermont IPA. I think it's a NEPA.
I've got Vacant, Proof of Concept.
Nice.
I've got the Harrison's Best and Harrison's Pale. And the one that I was actually thinking, do you know what? Do I start with that? Would be the American Amber, which was the 4th a can, October 2020. I don't mind that it's nearly a year old,
Which one was that? 4th a can?
Yeah, third one in top row.
But what style of beer is it?
It's an American Amber.
Oh, right. Nice. And I see you've got another pilot kit special release, which is a Vic Secret and
Simcoe.
Oh, he says, and your fave, Simcoe.
Yeah. Well, let me just pull one of the cans up that I had last night. Just a sec. Because you'll see the kind of messages I got left.
Oh, and it looks like he's used hop flavor enzyme, which is that new...
The hop flower, yeah.
Is it hop flower or hop flavor? Isn't that the new stuff from Lallemand?
Originally it's from Niche, because I had it when I was working in the brewery.
Oh, okay.
So not that one. So here we go. I've got one here. Notice a little picture of a cock drawn in the corner.
I did not. Oh yes, yeah, lovely.
Nice one, Harry.
Just
So
nice, nice little knob.
This was the Voss Lager, 5%, and it was pulled from sale because he thought it had excess diacetyl in it. I didn't get any diacetyl at all. I genuinely thought that was one of the better beers I've ever had. It was really, really not. Yeah, it was lovely.
Interesting. And interesting to get diacetyl from Voss as well. Which I guess is feasible, but not
you have to really, try hard to end up with diacetyl from Voss.
Yeah. It's just not, you don't tend to get a great deal of off flavors from Quike, do you? Or Quike?
No, you don't.
We don't want to go back down the road of how do we pronounce that.
We don't. It doesn't really matter, does it? You say it how you say it. Everybody knows what you mean. But yeah, I just thought it was. I just thought that was really nice of Chris, to be fair, to send me all them beers, and secondly, really nice of him to send me all those damn good beers. Well, they were all amazing.
A friend of the Hop Edition,
absolutely,
old Christopher.
He's a good lad. I haven't managed to make it down this summer holiday because I've had multiple isolations to deal with, and the wife working and promotion and stuff. So I've not managed to make it down to Retford.
I hope you do. Is it down? Yeah. Is it down or up? Down.
Pretty much everything's down from me,
apart from Andy's house.
Yeah, but he lives in North Pole, doesn't he?
He does.
It's up for everyone, that one.
He's Santa's next door neighbour.
Yes.
Aromazine is probably what he used, which is from Lalaman. Aromazine, yeah.
Wow.
It claims to be able to achieve hop biotransformation.
Yeah. So does my cock. Move on.
That's a strong opinion.
I just love the fact that they're butchering scientific words in order to stick it on there as a fucking name. Aromazine.
Go
away. Jesus Christ. Fuck off, Lala, man. Right. It probably does, but what do I know? I'm just a schmuck. What have you got in your glass, Owen? Because I saw you having a snort of it.
I was having a little fill of my nostrils. I have got what do the YouTube watchers think I've got? Is it a stout? No, it is not. This is a Black IPA. So it's a Bipper from Pomona Island. And for anyone that's not heard of Pomona Island, they are, I'm not sure how new they are, but I've certainly sort of landed on the scene, on the craft beer scene, the last probably couple of years. They are based in Salford. And if you haven't had any of their beers, they make some incredibly good hoppy, hazy, like pales, like New England IPAs, double IPAs, all of that bag. Yeah, so the likes of Cloudwater and Daya and Verdant and all those guys. And I would say, in my humble opinion, they are up there. They're up there with those guys in terms of the quality they're producing. And I spotted this. It's a 7.4% Black IPA. It says here, most people look at Black IPAs with terror and fear, but to those in the know, one with Cryo, Citra, and Sabro, it's such a lovely deer. So I think it was a poem. Yeah, it was a poem. So it's dark. It is a dark mistress. There's no seeing through that. That is firmly
black
in the territory of Black IPA. And on the nose, you do get some, not roast, but you get some chocolate. You get a good hit of hop aroma which you'd be expecting from this. So I personally think a good black IPA is going to be as hoppy as one of those sort of hazy, pale New England IPA sort of styles, right? You want to be like, you really want the hops punching out the glass on this style, in my opinion. And you also don't really want to be too roasty. And I think they're kind of they're nailing that. I would say the hop aroma might need to just come up a few steps, in my opinion.
Wow.
Because I'm not getting. It's nicely balanced, I would say, between the kind of the hop aroma and the malt aroma. But I'm mostly getting chocolate. And I'm getting some citrus. I'm not picking up the Sabro, though. I'm not really
surprise me.
I'm not picking up like a big... And I could see the appeal of using a Sabro in a black IPA, actually. Or even as far as like just using it in any dark beer. Because it does add that kind of creamy coconut type thing, right? And you do see a lot of like stouts, coconut's quite synonymous with darker beers, isn't it? Yeah. You tend to see it in darker beers more than you see it in lighter beers.
I'll definitely give you that, yeah.
And I think I might try and experiment with Sabro in a darker beer at some point, because I think that might work quite well. But I'm not really picking it up in this beer, in all honesty. So, maybe just tiny hint in the background. So I'm going to give it a little slurp and see what it's like. It's the mouthfeel's probably not as big as what you might expect in a 7.4% beer. I was half expecting it to like not drink like a 7.4% beer, but I think it does. It's like it's got some alcohol hit to it. There is some warmth there.
I would imagine so at 7.4.
Yeah, it's got some warmth, but sometimes you'll get like a 7.5%, 8% beer that's just like you wouldn't even know. You think it's just a 5% beer, you know. But it's hard to do. That is hard to do. So there's a little bit of alcohol warmth on it. Lovely flavour though. Carbonation's up there. Just helps it sort of slip down. Really lovely, like tropical flavors in there. I think maybe there is a little bit of that Sabro just balancing things out with a slightly just hint of kind of savouriness to it.
Wow.
Which you kind of do get with coming through with the malt as well, with the darker malts. Have you ever made a black IPA, Chris?
Nope.
No. Yeah, I've made a couple. Maybe 3, maybe even 4 in my time. I'm a big fan of the style. I do like a black IPA.
I like to drink them.
Yeah.
I just don't like making IPAs.
Fair dues, you're not really an IPA brewer, are you?
Nah.
We're like the polar opposite. Like I mostly make IPAs.
Anything with an IBU rating more than about 35, and I'm not that interested.
Fair dues. Well, I think there's a few. It's not a super easy style to make, and I think it's the dark malt that makes it a trickier style to make. And it's just all about knowing how to manipulate the color into the beer without too much flavor, too much of the flavor being imparted. Because if you just go full mash with the dark grain as well, you're going to get a stout. You're basically going to get a really hoppy stout, or maybe porter territory. Whereas you can add it, like you can mash cap it, so you just put it on like whilst you sparge, and it will just rinse the color out the grain, which is a good way to do it. Alternatively, you can cold steep the grains, and just add the liquid and the grain to the effectively, like, after you've probably finished sparging or very shortly after you've finished sparging, just to sort of run it all through. And those are good techniques, I think, for making a good black IPA. But personally, I think it's got to be ultra hoppy. I think you've got to be getting up there on the 12 to 16 grams per litre dry hop, in my humble opinion.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home, and I think it's going to be big whirlpool. And I think don't be afraid to give it a good bit of bitterness as well.
Well, you'd need the bitterness to counteract that, because one of the few things that I have sort of learned the hard way about making darker beers is a lot of people don't really hop them enough.
Yeah.
A lot of people they tend to end up with that sickly sweetness, and that is balanced purely by the amount of hops that you put in. It literally is bitterness units to gravity units, you know. And if you're going to go big, if you're going to go 7.4, then you need to be aiming for a boo-goo of at least 0.85, 0.9. Otherwise, it's just going to be too sweet.
I think I made a clone version of one of McKellar's beers. It was their Beer Geek Breakfast Stout, which I think was voted one of the best beers in the world at one point.
Right.
This was a number of years ago. And they put their recipe into a book. I think they even released a book, and there was a number of recipes in it. So I was able to find the recipe fairly easily. And that is a 7.5%, 8% breakfast stout, but it has a ridiculously high IBU rating.
Right.
And that's what people need to understand, is the fact that big, dark, and not necessarily just dark, but big beers can handle a lot of bitterness without it suddenly like becoming across as perceiving to be too bitter, because, as you said, it's all about that balance of bitterness to sweetness, right?
I've talked about the champagne that I made for the father-in-law a few times. And for those of you tuning in for the first time and hearing the word champagne and laughing, essentially it was an imperial pilsner, but the father-in-law wanted it big, so I made it huge. And I'd have to go back and look at the recipe to be, you know, completely, totally on point with it. But it was somewhere between 11 and 12, maybe even more than 12. I think it might have even been 12.6 or something like that. It was huge. It was huge. But that one had a bitterness to gravity of around about 0.85.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't, it was essentially just going to be sickly sweet and completely undrinkable.
It would be like a barley wine, wouldn't it, basically?
Yeah. But because you can hide alcohol with bitterness, it drank like it was 5.5. And I mean, I called it the leg fucker, because you had one and you woke up and your fucking legs didn't work. You know, it was one of those beers. You drank it and you were like, everything's fine, everything's fine. You get up to go for a pee and realize that you're on your knees. And, you know, it was as a technical exercise, it was a wonderful beer to make. As a beer to drink, I would not have touched it. You know, I had one to be polite at the father-in-law's for a barbecue, but I wasn't going to drink that. And I think the reason why everything was hidden so well was the number of hops that I managed to put into it at 15 minutes and sort of 5 minutes, but also the fact that the boo to goo ratio was way up there in order to hide that alcohol. And it's the same thing with the decent bipper.
Yeah, I think this could probably do with a bit more, if I'm honest.
All right. They've not quite got it high enough. No, I wouldn't say it's that. I wouldn't say it's sweet, actually. So I think they've probably got it pretty right. Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to rate these beers. So what would you give yours out of 10?
I'd probably give it 8.1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this recipe, this one that I'm drinking is a definite 8. It's a very, very solid 8. You know, it's drinkable, it's crushable, incredible flavor. Love the color. Love the fact that it's got a really light body. You know, very enjoyable beer. I would definitely drink that again.
It's somewhat upsetting that I can't just reach through the screen and like have a sip, because I'd kind of like to just try it.
I'm sure if you were to send Harry an email, he would be able to sort you out with a few cans.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe
if Harry's listening to the podcast, because he knows us, he's still in a Facebook chat with us. He might be able to just hook us up and go, you know what, boys, I'll sort you all out. Obviously, we'll pay him because they're good beers, but you never know. Harry might be able to sort us all out. He is a good bloke.
Yeah, he's a ledge. He is.
He's a proper
We're
good bloke.
kids.
So, I think it's about time to take a break from beer, to have a conversation break within the commercial break episode.
Wow.
I think it's time for us to talk about the craft beer festival. Owen, what do you reckon?
Are we gonna do a sort of reverse podcast where
we are? I think we should.
Instead of having a beer in the middle of it, we'll have a chat.
We'll have a chat for 10-15 minutes, because I don't know about you. In fact, I do know that you really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed myself.
I know that you really, really, really enjoyed yourself. But I just thought that the way in which the day panned out, I don't think it could have gone much better, do you?
Oh, it was awesome. It was a dream. It was so much fun meeting you, Chris, and meeting Tricky, and meeting a whole bunch of absolute legends from the BrewTube community, like Timmy and Matt and Colin, and who else did I meet? I met Graham, and just tons of people. And it was just, and what was really nice was the fact that because we all know each other so well,
there was no getting to know you.
There was no breaking the ice. There was no like awkward sort of like, oh, so, you like beer.
Yeah. There's none of that shit.
What's your favorite style of beer? It was just like, oh, how's that? How'd that thing go last week that I knew you were doing? Or yeah, it was just great, and we all just slipped into just having a good old laugh. I admit, my memory of probably the last half an hour to hour is pretty hazy. I think we were pretty hammered by.
So let me fill in that blank for you, Owen, because what actually happened was,
good. Yeah, I do.
Me, you, Dave, Santi, we were all stood outside with Tricky having a bit of a chat and having a bit of a gas, and you went, I need to go back in because I need another beer. And I went, cool, we'll be here, no problem. And then you disappeared for 40 minutes. I don't even know where you went, right? Santi went in and got another beer from Michela. Yeah. I went in and got another one of the creme brulee beers.
Yeah.
Let's not break that one just yet. So I went in and got another one of the creme brulee beers. Tricky disappeared and came back about 10 minutes later looking like he'd had 4 beers. And then we were having a conversation with Dave and with Gary. Sorry, not Gary, with Graham Hughes. Yeah. And we were just kind of chewing the fat and everything. And then you turned up, and I swear to God, it looks, from the difference from when you walked out to when you walked back in, that you'd gone inside and downed a bottle of JD. Because you went in a pretty much in a straight line, and you came back out with a weave on like a fucking novice caravan tower. Do you know what I mean? You were all over the road, mate. And then and then everybody told me it was only a 10-minute walk back to London Bridge, when clearly they were talking out their ass, because I used to live in fucking London. And and then we ended up in a pub, and you ended up losing a katsu curry on London Bridge.
Yeah. And I was face planting my mattress in the hotel at about 8:30 p.m. only to wake up at what I thought was my natural body clock time to wake up at 7 a.m. Feeling all right. I was like, oh, okay, I've regained consciousness. I don't feel terrible. I was probably still pissed.
What's this probably shit?
Went and checked the time, thinking it was 7 a.m. I was like ready to get up and just have a shower and like do whatever. I checked the time and it was 1:15 in the morning.
That takes some skills, man.
And I was so fucking confused that maybe I thought I'd slept for 2 days. And I was like, what? How? What day is it?
Yeah, mate. You were pretty hammered, mate.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going back to bed now.
Well, the highlight of the entire day for me, after the meeting of all you boys, trying some amazing beers, was Santi hurling abuse at a bloke with a megaphone outside King's Cross Station, who was spouting this bankers are responsible for the problem with the vaccine bullshit. And Santi called him Santi called him a cunt a few times. And then we went inside and got burgers, came back out, and he hurled some more abuse at him. And then we got on training. Then he got on train and came back to Wakefield. That was pretty cool. But let's talk about the beers.
Let's talk about the beer.
The beers of the festival.
Go on.
For me, hands down, without any issue at all, was the Omnipollo, creme brulee, and was it orange or lime?
It just said like fruit sour.
No, yeah, that's what it said. It said fruit creme brulee sour.
That's right.
That for me, without any shadow of a doubt, for all of you listening right now, whether you're on the podcast, whether you're live on YouTube, yes, I am a sour convert. I absolutely am a sour convert.
It's noted.
I have given sour beers so much shit in the past. But fuck, I'm drinking farmhouse ales. I went to this beer festival. Out of my first 4 beers, Owen, how many were sours?
I think like 75% of them.
Yes.
You were nailing the sours. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you?
I was. There were some really, really good sours. There was only one that tasted a bit like baby puke.
Which one was that?
That was the one that I got. Do you remember when we walked through before we went for our first smoke break?
Yeah.
And we were in that random room where we walked through the middle of somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you remember,
that was also the one where they
farmhouse
had the
pilsner.
They had the oak fermented pilsner, didn't they?
Yes.
And you got some stickers from them as well, didn't you?
I did. I lost all of those.
They were in a 40-foot brewery.
That's what they were called.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Is it 40-foot brewery or something? I don't know.
I think it is. Yeah, it's literally called 40-foot brewery. I actually really enjoyed their oak fermented.
It was really nice.
Pilsner. It was odd, but really nice.
Very refreshing beer.
They're in Dalston in London, and I think they're brewing out of a container. But they're canning their beer.
40-foot brewery. Yeah. I mean, they're doing a great job.
They are.
They're doing a great job. The sour that I had from there was a bit weird. It tasted a bit baby puke-ish. But I mean, I don't think I had a bad beer. What was the first place where we went to with that black currant sour?
Oh, that was where Unity Brewery was, because I was chatting to Jimmy for a bit.
That was fucking brutal.
That was very sour, wasn't it?
It was brutal. It had virtually no lactic. It was completely just as tart as hell. But what a beer. As a palate cleanser.
It was like a raspberry, blackberry kind of, you instantly get a lot of sourness just from the fruit, I think, don't you? I can't remember which brewery that was.
It was Purple Balls, man, because the first beer that I had was a fest beer.
Yeah.
And then the second one was a sour, the third one was a sour, and the fourth one was a sour.
Yeah, I had that raspberry sour. The
Black Currant one.
Yeah, the black currant one. The very first beer I had was a pale ale with Columbus in it, and it had like a really, really piney aroma on it. But the flavor of the beer was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to remember which
Can I just say that in true Audacity style, mine's crapped out at 35 minutes.
Yeah, mine crapped out for a bit, but I noticed it and restarted it. Classic.
Yeah, I'll rip the audio off of this and just trim it. It'll be fine.
It's a pilot. What are you gonna do?
Pilot. It's a small batch podcast.
It is. Going back to the beer of the festival for you. It was a beer called Pleroma.
Yes.
By Omnipollo, which is a
fucking spectacular.
Well, it says here that it's a raspberry creme brulee, but
bullshit. I think no raspberry in that.
I think they've rebrewed it and they've changed the. I think they changed the fruit.
It was a citrus. That's all I know. It was either lime, lemon, or orange.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was so good. I had 3 glasses of it.
I think I had a good few glasses of that. That was at the which stand was that at? That was the
Beer Merchants. Yeah, Beer Merchant stand.
Yeah, which had like so many good beers on from lots of different breweries. Beer Merchants, I think it was called. I ended up buying a bottle of beer from them once I was significantly well-oiled, and I bought a bottle of 2017 barrel-aged Cantillon, and I had to break the news to my wife that I had to remortgage the home.
Yeah, you did spend £83 million on that one, didn't you?
It was close to, yeah. But it's now in my fridge, and I'm looking forward to drinking it at some point. So every cloud. Oh, beer of the. Oh, mate, do you remember the cherry Lachiouf?
I didn't drink the cherry Lachiouf. I didn't drink it.
That was off the rails.
You guys had it. I had the standard Lachiouf.
I think I had both. Obviously, and I mean Lachiouf is just an absolutely stellar beer.
It's beautiful.
But the cherry Lachiouf was just. You remember those like sweets called like cherry drops? I think they were called. They were really popular in in the 90s, I think, and it literally tasted just like that. It was awesome. That was one of the beers of the festival for me. What else was really good? Oof, there were so many. I mean, I don't think I had a single bad beer. I don't think I. Oh no, I tell a lie. I had the. And this might be controversial. I had the what's that? All Fuggles Best Bitter for 5 points.
5 points best.
That was fucking disgusting.
You didn't rate that?
No, not even slightly. Like it tasted like chewing on a twig. It was fucking horrid.
I thought their Olicana and Harlequin, which everybody else had fucking slated, I thought that was gorgeous.
I thought that was pretty good, but yeah, what else did they? They had something called a Jupa, which
we got the hops for just from tasting it.
We did, yeah.
Bang on. I mean, like properly bang on as well. We weren't fucking about. We got that shit down.
It was called a juicy pale ale, and they called it a Jupa.
And it was Citra, Mosaic, and what was the other one?
Simcoe, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Simcoe. Citra, Mosaic, and Cascade. and it was absolutely stunning. It was one hell of a beer.
It was all right. It was all right. I'll tell you what I really enjoyed was Boxcars Mild.
Yeah, I never had that one. I think I was
That was-
drinking another sour at that point.
Was it the? I think it was just their dark mild, which is only 3.6%. But that was gorgeous. I know that beer is in the. I think it's in the Camera homebrew book, isn't it?
Probably, yeah.
And they also do a double dark mild, which I've not tried, but that's 6.3%. So effectively, it's like I guess an imperial mild.
Yeah.
Which they didn't have on tap, but I'd be keen.
No, they did. They did have it.
Did they?
Yeah, they did have the imperial mild. Yeah.
Oh.
No, it was definitely there, mate, because I saw that on the menu. Remember, I wasn't as pissed as you.
No, this is true. I definitely had the straight dark mild. That was excellent. I chatted to the guy at Boxcar for quite a while.
Yeah, second beer of the tournament for me. There's no surprises which brewery it's from. Talus in Wonderland.
Oh, that was gorgeous. Gorgeous, mate.
That was epic.
That was what brewery? That was
Arbor.
Arbor, wasn't it? Yeah, just
those
straight...
two boys. Fucking hell, they were such banter merchants. It was amazing. I really enjoyed that
for a while, weren't you?
I was. I've actually sent some emails off this week. I'm not going to break anything on this podcast, but I will talk to you afterwards, Owen. We may have something good.
Nice. I know we gave them some stickers and stuff, didn't we?
And they stuck them on the beer pumps, stuck them on the Linda machine.
Yeah.
And the boys from Verdant did as well.
Yeah.
What was that one from Verdant that we had just before we walked up the steps?
Oh, it was the Dipper, wasn't it? It was like planets. Planets.
It was
don't lie.
black and white, like just circles. It looked like the Doppler effect.
Planets don't twinkle. I think it was.
That was fucking stunning. I found out how they managed to get so much hop flavor into their beer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had a little bit of information dropped by one of the blokes there, who's one of their brewers. Because my first words to him when I walked up were, first off, guys, your beers are amazing. Secondly, how much weed do you smoke when you're naming the beers? And they just all started laughing and just went, loads. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell.
Lot.
You called a beer, even sharks need water. Clearly, you were smoking a lot that day. And they just all burst out laughing and they were like, totally, absolutely.
Yep, that's us.
Yep. And then I got some beers, and then that was a cracking beer. It was thick as hell.
Yeah, that was a Galaxy single hop double IPA, and it was stellar. I remember you just got me one, didn't you? Just like, give me your glass.
Give me a glass. Pulled this, drink this.
Yeah,
it was a cracker.
I would say like the first 2 hours or so, I think I managed to like dodge most of the double IPAs and the like mega ABV stuff, but then you just get to a point where you're like, oh, it starts creeping up the ABV, and then you get into the double IPAs, and then you're just hammered, and then you're like, fuck it, let's just go with the flow.
The thing that killed you more than anything else was when you came back after your little venture, when you were weaving, was you turned around and just went, those impy stouts will kill you, Chris. And that was all you said to me. And I'm like, how many have you had? And he went, at least 4. I'm like, well, there's 4 pints you've had in the space of an hour, Owen, on top of everything else.
Yep, so I've just gone and drunk a pint of impy stout. And I think it might have been the Admonton dessert stout.
That one was a bad one for you.
Yeah.
You were quite impressed, but in fact, Santi was quite impressed by that beer as well.
I do love an Admonton dessert beer.
It was a cracking day, all in. It was great, very, very good. I really enjoyed it,
and I can't wait for next year.
It was awesome for me because, to get a little bit reminiscent, a man that you guys met, Dave. Professor Dave Berry. He was my first boss out of university. and there is not a man alive that I can think of who knows more about toxicology than Dave. And to meet up with him after not seeing him for basically 15 years, and literally he was 2 people behind us in the queue. That was the thing that got me. He was literally 2 people behind us in the queue. And for a 75-year-old man, he can't half hold his beer, can he?
Fuck yeah. I love Dave. Dave was great. I hope to see him again next year.
Well, that's the aim, mate. He had a weave on, though, at the end. Don't get me wrong, he had a fucking weave on.
Mate, well, I think also it's like he was... he obviously likes his beer, but he's not really a craft beer drinker, right? So I think he was kind of at the beginning he was a bit like, "What is this shit? Just give me a decent pint at best," you know. Yeah. But then I think by the end of it, didn't you say he was like that was quite an eye opener?
He said to me when we were sitting in the pub after you were, losing katsu curries on London Bridge, he said he only had one beer there that he didn't like. And that was it. He said it was a real eye opener. The world of craft beer was a real eye opener, and he'd only had one beer that he didn't like.
Nice.
And that was the white stout.
Oh yeah,
famous white stout from America that everybody else jizzes about, and Dave just went, "Nah, that's wank."
Yeah, white stouts. It's.
I wasn't impressed with Bell's Two Hearted.
I mean, I was just about to mention it. I really enjoyed it.
Really didn't.
I'm not sure if that's just because I've been sucked in by the hype train. But actually, I thought it was a beautiful beer.
I thought it was fairly flavourless, to be fair, and far too sweet.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, it was definitely sweet. It was a sweet beer. It was classic West Coast IPA, really, wasn't it? It had that real crystal malt presence to it.
Yeah, almost jammy is what I would have described it as.
Really? So you maybe even say it was a little bit oxidized, perhaps? But
I'd say it was definitely oxidized. But I would say that unless somebody's going to give me a pint of that direct from the bright tank or from the carbonation tank, I'm probably never going to drink that beer again.
Yeah, well, I think trying to get cans of it over the Atlantic Ocean, unless it's on a cold chain, then inevitably it's going to suffer, isn't it, from a quality point of view?
I think it most definitely is. I'm just going to grab my second beer because it's in that fridge there, and I really want to drink this beer. So just 1 sec. I'll be back. Talk amongst yourselves, guys.
Talk amongst yourselves when it's literally just me.
I was talking to the chat. I was talking to the chat.
The chat. You can chat. You can type between you. Yeah. Funniest moment of the London Craft Beer Festival was, I don't know, maybe me slapping Chris in the face in the taxi.
That was quite funny.
I don't remember it, but
yeah, it was 4 times you slapped me in the face in the taxi, actually, Owen. But to be fair, I'm not entirely sure you were conscious.
Sorry about that.
That's all good, mate.
I was in and out of consciousness. Clearly, that 40-minute blackout of just disappearing was my downfall.
You had to put a polish on the end of the day. That's what it comes down to. You were polishing your helmet at the end of the day with 4 impy stouts.
I didn't do myself any favours. But some of the other guys, though, I mean, the likes of Timmy, Alan Wescombe, those guys, they were in Wetherspoons before the festival, and then I'm pretty sure they didn't get home till about 2 a.m. And that's a serious session. Hats off to you guys. I'm going to open my second beer.
I'm going to open my second beer.
Oh, and I needed a bottle opener to open mine.
Wow. It's not that bottle that you bought that you nearly lost on the bridge, is it?
No. I'm so glad that survived.
I am as well, because that was 25 quid.
It definitely wasn't my fault. The guy walked into me.
All right. Just 1 second. I'm sure that lamppost did walk into you. So we've got Crew Wolf in chat, and he says, "What were I doing for you to slap me 4 times?" I'll tell you what I was doing, Mark. I was looking gorgeous, same as I always do. And I think Owen was just trying to say, do you know what? I've had a really good time today. I'm really good at judging whether or not the slap is offensive or whether it's just a "you're right, mucker" kind of thing. But I'm pissed, so I'm actually going to slap you properly. And I think Owen knows it was a bloody good day we'd had. It was a bloody good day. We were on his way for a pint of Harvey's in mine and Dave's local from when I was in London. And I think Owen was just at the point where it was either unconsciousness or slap someone, and he decided to slap me.
Yeah, I think it must have been a friendly slap. I had no qualms with you, Chris. No qualms.
There we go. It's all good. And to be fair, you're taller than me.
So there we go.
Yeah. What are you, like 6'3", 6'4"?
No, I'm 6'1", and everyone else adds 2 inches to their height.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I am 6'1" and 3/4, legit.
No, you're not.
I fucking am, mate.
Okay. Next time you've got a measuring tape, go measure yourself, because you're not 6'1" and 3/4.
I am. The 3/4 isn't very important. Even if I'm 6'1", you're fucking taller than that.
I'm not. I'm 6'1".
Fuck off. Take the Cuban heels off, bitch. Right then.
It was my stilettos I was wearing. What can I say?
I mean, those thigh-length leather boots were quite fetching.
You know, I wanted you to be impressed by my calves.
They were all right.
Thanks.
I thought your missuses were better. Right then.
Into second beer. Let's go.
Yes.
Ooh. Jungle Trip. That sounds like the sort of thing you'd like.
London Beer Factory, New England Pale Ale. And it says on the back, in fact, I'm going to pour it first so I don't spill any.
Oh, shit, bud.
What have you broken?
Nothing. I've just spilled the beer I just poured.
No,
it's all right. I just dropped the bottle that was empty. Just
do you think this is well carbonated?
It looks to be.
Either that or I just suck at pouring.
So this is a New England Pale Ale, is that right?
So this is a New England Pale Ale by London Beer Factory called Jungle Trip, and it is 5.3%. Now it says on the back, I've got to read you this. Fresh pine and fleshy grape aromas intermingle while grapefruit citrus flavors explode as Summit and Comet hops rumble, all supported by a sweet beaming yellow malt bill and fruity fermenting yeast. A far-out tropical flavor voyage of refreshment. Guess what the hops are?
Well, you've mentioned 2 of them already, but I'm guessing it's Nelson.
Yep.
And Summit and Comet and
Columbus.
Columbus, all right.
And the yeast is Verdant. Now, I wanted to drink this one on the last commercial break that we did back at the beginning of August. And I had a friend round who I've not seen for a very long time. And we came down the shed to have a chat. He used to live next door to me. And he turned up and he basically just started pulling beers out of the fridge and drinking them. And he took one and he drank this one.
All right.
And I'm like, I'm saving that one as he went, psst. And I'm like, you bastard. So I had to go to the shop and buy a brand new one.
Bitch.
Bastard. So, yes, Verdant. Need I say more?
Verdant
yeast.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. It's a lovely colour.
It's a beautiful colour.
I've probably only had 1 beer from the London Beer Factory. That might be a lie, but the one I remember was, I think, one of their like core beers, and it came in a can that you took like the entire top off the can. Yeah.
Wow.
It was weird. So it almost became like a glass, like a metal cup.
I mean, that's interesting.
The beer wasn't very good, but
okay. Well, this one is an absolute lesson in dank.
Really? Well, that's the Columbus, right? It's got to be.
It's got a dirtiness to it that I really fucking like.
I do. Yeah, I like Columbus. I think I'm gonna do more with Columbus.
I'm really wishing I hadn't bought a kilo of Magnum because I could do with some CTZ for a bit of bittering action and maybe some late throw-ins. Because this is a really nice beer.
I think, and I think the way I want to start using Columbus is I've used Columbus almost exclusively just as my bittering hop, but I want to start dry hopping with Columbus. I want to start using Columbus more prevalently in the beer because I think it's got a lot more to give than just bittering.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. This is tropical, dank. It's almost chewy. It's a big, heavy beer.
Really? And
tons of body. Tons of body.
At 5.3%.
I know. They've done something right. I mean, all it is Golden Promise, oats, wheat, and dextrin. That's all it is.
So they've used some dextrin in there.
And the oats and the wheat. But it's got a big body to it. It's got big flavour.
That's probably the maltodextrin that they've used, right? To really...
No, it's not maltodextrin, it's dextrin.
Just dextrin malt.
Yeah, so carapils.
Well, maybe they've used maltodextrin. You never know.
I mean, it's possible.
Listing as dextrin.
I mean, it's not heavy enough to be a Timmy beer, so there's clearly not half a kilo per pint.
Yeah.
But I really like this. I do really, really like this. And as soon as I smelt it, I got Nelson. I get a hint of lime, which is classic for Nelson.
Yeah.
I get I don't quite get a winey overtone, but what I do get is I don't know if they sold them down south. You know, you used to be able to get cola bottles and you used to be able to get grape bottles.
Yeah.
Well, they did a white grape bottle. It was a limited edition back when I was about fucking 10 or 12 or something. And it was made by Haribo. I think it was Haribo anyway. And it was basically the flavor that you get is that sweet white grape. And it's beautiful. It melds really well with everything else. The grapefruit is not overpowering. There's a hint of lemon. There's almost a hint of, I want to say like yuzu.
Yeah.
But not quite yuzu. Almost like a cross between a grapefruit and a lime. Again, really nice. And just the flavor's fucking beautiful. They've clearly gone balls out with the hops because it's a lovely beer.
There's some unusual hops in there as well. Like, was it Summit and Comet?
Yep. Summit, Comet, Nelson, and Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I've not... Right. Have you ever used Summit or Comet?
I've used Comet. I've used Comet quite a bit. It's a nice hop. The classic for me, when I was out in America the second time, I went with my dad. We went into just a place of an evening to get something to eat. It was a barbecue joint. And they had a beer from a brewery in there. And I remember it was called the Comet Cascade was the name of the beer. Just a local brewery to the place where we were at in Indianapolis. And I remember distinctly saying, I really, really like this. And my dad tried it. Dad's not a huge hoppy beer drinker. He'd rather have a pint of Murphy's than a cigarette. You know, he's one of those. But for me, the flavor from it was really, really, really good. So I remember Comet really well. And I remember Cascade really well. And yeah, it's a stunning beer, this one. I mean, you should try it.
Yeah, well, so I was just checking out their website. Tell a lie, I've had their tiramisu pastry stout.
You had that on a podcast.
I think I did, yeah. And Hazy Days was the beer I was thinking of originally. That I wasn't overly impressed with, which is their session IPA. But yeah, I'd be keen to try that New England Pale. I do like a New England Pale.
Well, it's called Jungle Trip.
Jungle Trip.
And they were selling it in Tesco's because that's where I got it from.
Yeah, they seem to have like gotten into the supermarkets, right? And
Yeah,
what's interesting, they also have like looks like they have a barrel aging or a barrel thing going on, which is their barrel project.
Just one quick question before you move on. I'm not discounting what you just said. Barrel aging projects are always awesome. We have a gentleman in chat called Just Ertz. South African? Just van der Westhuizen?
Yeah, either that or Dutch.
Possibly. One of the two.
Just tell us your nationality in chat.
Tell us where you're from, Just.
We're intrigued.
I only say this because I was watching a program on BT Sport earlier on, and it was talking about the greatest rugby players of all time.
All right.
And Just van der Westhuizen was in there. And to be fair, he was a fucking fantastic rugby player. So, but he was South African, obviously being called Just.
All right. Well, I mean, there is a strong interlink, isn't there, between the Dutch and
ever so slightly
South Africans.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Your beer time, Owen. Go for it.
My beer time. So I just wanted to pick up on
Dutch.
that point. He's Dutch. Hi, Joe. Hoest. Dutch indeed, or indeed. I am becoming increasingly a fan of stuff that's barrel aged, and I think perhaps there's a point in which your craft beer brewing, lineage calls for beer that's hit barrels, and I'm telling you, I cannot get enough of fucking stuff that's been in a barrel.
I'll be honest with you,
at the
mate.
moment.
I've only just made it to sours. I'm at least 4 levels below you.
Yeah, I am. I'm a big fan of stuff that's been in a barrel.
J Fork jumps in with barrel aged Nipa.
yeah, let's do it.
If you like purple beer, mate, yeah, let's do that one.
I can book a flight, Jesper, and get over, and we'll do a barrel aged Nipa. Although I'm not sure if it's achievable. So with that in mind, the beer that I have selected as my second beer to review is from
a barrel-aged Impy.
It's not a barrel-aged Impy, no. It is barrel-aged. It is from a brewery called La Calavera, which is a Spanish brewery in Catalonia.
Wow. I think he's all over that one.
I think I have reviewed one of their beers on the podcast before, but this is a red sour barrel-aged beer. So it's effectively a Flanders red style beer.
Yeah.
Right. So for anyone unfamiliar with the style of Flanders red, that is a Flemish, maybe even Belgian style of beer, which is sour. It is acetic. It tends to be blended, highly complex, dark red. In this case, the beer is a nice red color.
Now, I'm not being funny, Owen, but I'm going to call bullshit on everything you've just said, because that is quite clearly a fucking Rioja.
That is a glass of Rioja. I've just been pulling. I've been pulling your leg. I'm gonna pervert the hop edition.
Shenanigans.
You
just want to say terroir, don't you? That's all you want to do.
Guys, I'm starting my new podcast. It's called The Grape Edition. So if anyone wants to find me, I'm also going to be on YouTube. No, this genuinely is a red ale. If anyone's ever had, and I've got a bottle in the fridge, it's what's the really famous one? It's the Duchess of Bourgogne. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce that, but that is quite a readily available Flemish red ale.
J Fork's giving you shit, mate.
Is he? Is it barrel-aged sangria? If I added some brandy, J Fork, then it might be. Maybe some slices of orange. Anyway, on the nose.
To coin a phrase, there's a lot going on there.
I'm getting bags of barrel, which is like that It's obviously oak. It almost smells like cork. You know, like
Wow.
if you were to smell the cork of a wine bottle, right? You take a cork out of a wine bottle and smell that. It smells a little bit like that. It's sour. You're getting that sort of vibe of like, you can smell sourness, can't you?
Yes.
You can smell a beer and go, yeah, I know that's sour.
Yes.
Right? But I'm smelling this and it smells that you're getting a little bit of balsamic vinegar.
Oh my good God, I'm glad I'm not drinking that.
I fucking love this shit, Chris.
You know where we were talking about the evolution of the home brewer?
Yeah.
The evolution of the beer geek, and I've made it to sours, which is step 3. Okay, you're currently on step 12, right? You've taken the 12-step program. You're on step 12, mate.
I mean, it is. I'm not really getting much malt from the beer. What you really get is just the barrel, the balsamic vinegar, the sourness, and that is basically it. But that typifies the style. So it smells good. I was unsure about a red sour, barrel-aged red sour Flemish red style beer from a Spanish brewery. To be fair, not an easy style to brew. I've tried, but it smells pretty legit. So I'm going to dive in. Just to add, this is also 8%.
Because drinking anything less than 8% would be practically fucking cheating, wouldn't it? I was just about to ask that, Jesper. Do you think that the barrel that they used was actually previously a balsamic vinegar barrel?
I don't think it would have been, obviously. But typically, the beer is fermented with a blend of different yeasts. So you would have your Pediococcus, your Brettanomyces, your Lactobacillus, all of those going into effectively what I think is probably referred to as kind of a wild fermented or
a melange
or a mixed fermentation beer. And it is not super sour. It doesn't get those like little glands at like the very back of your sort of teeth in your cheeks, kind of immediately just trying to just gush saliva, like when you take that first sip and you go, and then your cheeks go weird.
Do you remember when I got that black currant sour at the festival, and the first thing that I said to you was, I've sniffed this and I'm drooling. La bouquet de jockstrap.
Yeah.
Does it smell a bit goaty?
No, it's not super brutty. You're not getting like a big sort of farmhouse kind of vibe off it.
So it's not like that one.
No. I mean, was that really brutty? Yeah, that was a farmhouse ale, wasn't it?
It was a smidge goaty, but to be fair, it was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I'm not getting loads of Brett off this, and it's a shame because I love Bretted beers. This is,
You're
I would argue,
dirty, mate, aren't you?
Yeah, I am dirty. I like it dirty. If it doesn't taste like licking a 9-volt battery, then it's no good. I remember you taking a sip of one of those sours, the one that you thought was from the 40-foot brewery, and you tasted it and you went, you took your first sip and you went, it's good. It's really good.
It was getting used to that farmhouse twang.
It was yeah, you do.
Did you have that beer in the end?
I didn't have it. No, I think,
Mate, it was a banger, that.
But when you taste a really sour beer, that first sip is just like, sometimes it's almost offensive, isn't it? But then you get used to it, and then you realise the beer is quite pleasant. This isn't ultra sour, but it is quite ethanoic.
Oh, thank God you used the right word.
I did. So it's quite, for those that are unfamiliar with that term, acetic or vinegary. It's got quite a vinegary vibe going on, so it's quite balsamic vinegary.
You need that bit of a. You need that bit of a kick with a decent sour, and this is where I'm just going to jump in for 30 seconds while I allow you to really savor the flavor. One of the things that I've found about sour beers is sometimes you need 3 or 4 sips to actually get the proper flavor of the beer, to really get it, to almost get your juices flowing within your mouth so that you can properly taste it. And somebody's just said that, Justa's just said that actually, a sour always needs some sips to get the proper taste. But once you get that proper taste and you can get past the fact that it is quite ethanoic or quite, lactic or whatever it is, once you get to the flavor of the beer, they are really very, very, very complex.
Yeah.
And I can see on your face, because you've almost got a look of that puppy dog confusion of you trying to interpret what's coming out of that glass, and it's not really making much sense to your taste buds at the moment.
No, I'm also not sure it's going to do my stomach a great deal of good either after that burrito I ate earlier.
How big was this burrito?
It was a large burrito.
Are we talking 8-inch, 12-inch?
I think it was 10, maybe. I don't know. I didn't get my cock out just to compare.
I mean, you would have had to use it 3 times to get the correct length of the burrito, but
my cock's not that big.
That's true. Maybe 5 then.
Anyway, I mean, this beer is it's a valiant. I think it needs to be sweeter. It needs very often what they do is back sweeten the beer, because it can become very dry, and this is very dry, and the thankfully the barrel aging hasn't taken over it, but there is a little bit of a drying effect. It's a little bit, what's the term, like
puckering?
Yeah, but what's the term that you use to describe that? Like, it's a bit like tea.
Tannic.
Not tannic. Astringent.
That's the one.
It's a little bit. It's a little bit astringent.
I'm guessing from the words that you're using, the look on your face, the words that you're using, and the way that you're going, you're not entirely enjoying this beer.
No, I'm not.
Wow. Now, weirdly,
it's
hearing
not that
you
great.
talk and saying some of the things that you are, I really like this for the first, let's say, half a can. But you may have noticed that my rate of consumption has slowed down. The warmer this gets, the more pine there is, and the less I'm liking it.
There's a lot of very piney hops in that. I mean, Summit, for what I just read, is quite a piney.
Yeah.
Quite a piney hop. I think Comet's quite piney. They've mixed that with Columbus just to really double down on the pine. If indeed Columbus is piney, I'm not really sure if it's piney. It's more herbal dank, isn't it? Really.
I'm getting the occasional flash of tropical now, but at the bottom of the glass, I don't think I would buy this again. Huh. Maybe if I was going to crush it in front of the TV and it was only going to last, maybe 2 or 3 scenes of a film, then I could probably get away with it. But the warmer this gets, the less I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting observation, isn't it? Because how temperature affects the variables of beer.
I know, massively.
That's a big factor, isn't it? About very often, like drinking very cold beer it's no bueno, right? You don't want to be drinking a beer that's 3 degrees.
I can get away with 6 degrees for most beers that come out of a can. Because most of the time they don't make it to 10 degrees. This one's clearly at 10 degrees. It's like 22 in the shed at the minute.
Yeah.
And this one's clearly at 10, maybe even more. I'm not feeling this massively at the moment. I get the occasional flash of tropical fruit, but to be fair, it's more pine and resin than anything else right now.
Yeah, I do find, particularly with things like double IPAs or quite strong pale beers, that once it warms up, the alcohol tends to come through more.
Definitely.
And sometimes even the hot burn can come through more.
I'd agree with that as well.
So I do find like things like double IPAs and New England double IPAs, that they are generally better drunk quite quickly at the right temperature range to be really enjoyable. And whereas, you've got other styles like imperial stouts or barley wines or whatever, and I think actually they're better enjoyed warmer, in my opinion.
I would agree with that completely.
12 to 15 degrees. I think that interestingly, that bottle of Cantillon I bought, they suggested that you age it but drink it within 20 years.
I mean, who's not going to do that?
Yeah, they're basically saying you can age it up to 20 years. They said you should serve it in wine glasses.
Nah, fuck that. That's Ponzi.
Well, that's what they said. And they also said it should be served something like 15 to 17 degrees. Which is really quite, I think it was 15 to 17. Certainly they said, drink it once it's actually warmed up. Because you do actually get a lot more aromatics out of the beer. I think
I'd agree with that, definitely, yeah.
It can just uncover a lot more of a beer's flaws. Like with your homebrew, the test of a good homebrew would probably be to leave it till it gets to about 12 degrees and see what you actually end up finding out about your beer. Because it's easy to drink the beer when it comes out of the keezer and it's 4 degrees and go, oh yeah, that's really good. But you don't notice that there's certain flaws in the beer until it warms up and you give it a taste. And so I'd recommend people do that.
So, marks out of 10 for this round?
I'm going to award a few extra points just for the valiant effort of brewing one and barrel aging it. But
you've got to give it at least 2 points for the balls of that.
Yeah, I think it should be. So I'll probably give it like a 7. I'll give it a 7. No, that's unfair. I'd give it a 6.5.
This one, if it's cold, like if it's 5 degrees, I would give this quite clearly a 7.8, 7.7, 7.8. When it's warm, it's way down into the kind of low 6s, possibly high 5s.
Yeah.
So I think drinking it warm, this is a 6. Drinking this cold, this is definitely a 7.
Nice.
The pine is too much when it's warm. It's like somebody's thrown a bottle of Harpic bleach on the floor in front of you. It's that fucking piney.
Wow.
But don't get me wrong, nice beer when it's cold. I'd still recommend you get one. Just don't let it warm up too much.
I'll just drink it fast.
Down in a wanna, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Jay Fawkes just asked me about how my triple fruited goza is. And it's very nice. It's very nice, Jay Fawkes. Thanks. It's very fruity. It's not quite as salty as I'd hoped, but
Wow. It's not as salty as you had hoped.
Yeah, it was one of those sort of. I decided to not add as much salt as what the research suggested, which I went to my homebrew club last week and we tried it there, and one of the guys was saying a general rule of thumb for gozers is 1 gram of salt per litre.
Okay.
And I probably went about 0.75 gram per litre.
That's very salty.
So it's kind of, you drink it and you wouldn't think, oh, that's really salty. But equally, the salt is like lifting up the whole flavour of the beer. And it's the sour's reasonably gentle. It's not a fierce sourness, but it's, I'm pretty pleased with it, mate. Thank you. Pretty pleased with it. It was an expensive as fuck beer to make because as soon as you start adding fruit purees to beer,
20 quid basically, isn't it?
It's like a tenner a litre for fruit puree, and I put in like 2.5 litres. So it was, and in fact, it's the half litre I already had. So it was like 20 quid I chucked into this brew. I was like, best be good. But then not a lot different from when you make a New England IPA, Timmy style.
I mean, it's cheaper.
500 grams of hops, which is best part of
30 quid.
20 or 30 quid, isn't it? So,
yeah.
No, I'm pretty pleased with it.
Unless you use Bramlin Cross, and then that's a $5.
Yeah, well, yeah, or you could use Magnum. You could make a Magnum Nipa, or you could make a Bramlin Cross Nipa. Maybe even a Fuggles Nipa. Why not? Why not?
I think Andy said he was going to do the Fuggles Nipa, didn't he?
Just set fire to a bush and shove your face in it.
I mean, essentially, that's just going to be a burnt wood Nipa, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit like, I don't know, like chewing on a log.
I mean, let's just leave that one there because that brings up the whole 2 girls, 1 cup argument, doesn't it?
Does it?
Yeah, can we just leave that one alone?
Yeah, I think we should rapidly move on from that subject.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see if Andy decides to brew that.
So we've had 2 beers each on this, which have been different. I think is the correct way to describe it. I mean, you went Bipper, and what style was the second one? What would you call that? Flanders Red, barrel aged Flanders Red.
Yeah, it was a Flanders Red. Yeah.
I mean, that's some serious fucking complexity in a beer, especially at 8%, isn't it?
It is, and it is a very, very complex beer. I think I've only had one commercial version before, which is the one I mentioned.
Duchesse de Bourgogne.
Yeah, which is Stella. That's really good, but
not actual Stella.
Not actual Stella.
You mean Stella as in Shooting for the Stars Stella?
Yeah, which is just a very, very good beer. And this, when you're comparing it to that, this probably falls a little short, unfortunately.
No, I mean it's always good to know that there's an OG within the style, though, isn't there?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to finish that.
Oh dear! Wow. I mean, that's how much was that a bottle?
No idea. I bought it ages ago. It's been in the fridge for a while.
Wow. I mean, to say you're not even going to finish it, clearly you're not from Yorkshire. But
clearly,
he says with the accent. Yes, clearly,
I'm not from Yorkshire.
Yes,
I think you've noticed that by now.
Absolutely. Now, for me, I've had 2 beers that I've really enjoyed. I've had some good chat. I've enjoyed reminiscing about the craft beer festival. And I hope you guys have enjoyed what has been the pilot episode of basically Chris and Owen talk bollocks about beer. There's been some interesting points. I've really enjoyed that. We've had a good crew on, and shall we cut that one there and jump straight into a 20-minute after party?
I think so, Chris. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was fun, and Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Right,
with some beers that are more successful.
Right. So going straight into the chat right now, we have that is the link, and the password is that. So if you want to join us right now, we're going to be 20, 25 minutes, maybe even half an hour in the post, and we will stop our relative audacities. Now mine apparently has been recording, but the actual thing hasn't been moving. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. This has been a pilot episode of the commercial pilot. See what we did there. And hopefully we'll be back soon with some more chat about some beers that we've had stuck in our fridge for a very long time. And we love you all. Hopefully this will get you through a week or maybe a drive to work or two, since it's turned out to be an hour and 45. But, whatever. And yeah, thanks very much for listening, guys. Hop Edition will be back soon with a full episode with all the crew. In the meantime, live it how you love it, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. It's ended.
Yep.
Bye. It's the bit at the end where I just go bye. Have you actually stopped the live feed?
No, I haven't stopped the live feed at all just yet, but I'm about to. So,
well, that's awkward. I thought that was the bit.
No, that was for Audacity.
I ended Audacity ages ago.
Right. I haven't stopped the live feed yet. You guys are live on YouTube. No, that was for Audacity.
Yeah. And they've got YouTube.
This is going to get confusing. I'm stopping